I'm poet Keisha-Gaye Anderson, and you're watching the Artist Forum.
I'm poet and curator J.P. Howard, and we're watching the Artist Forum.
Hi, welcome back to the Artist Forum. I am your host, Rebecca L. Hargrove, joining you tonight with my guest, Keisha-Gaye Anderson, who is an author, poet, screenwriter, and visual artist, just a jacktress of all trades here. She also joined us last season in our 77th episode, where we featured some of her students from City College in the interactive poetry workshop. So welcome back, Miss Keisha.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yes, so happy to have you and to really get to know you personally this time, because last time we had a nice group setting and got to see some of your students recite their own poetry. But tonight we're in for a treat because you are going to be giving us some of your own works.
That's correct.
But I did want to fill our viewers in on your background. Now, she has a published work called Gathering the Waters, in addition to Circle Unbroken. And her poetries and essays have been published in literary magazines, journals, and anthologies, including Poems on the Road to Peace, African Voices magazine, and Renaissance Noir. And you're also currently the director of communications within a large public college. So you are just all over the place.
That's right.
So can you give me a little bit, give me a little bit of your background. How did we get here?
Oh boy, well, how did we get here?
Yeah.
Okay, I am a Jamaican-born New Yorker.
Yes.
And so knowing that, I had to have a career path. So I've always been a storyteller. Went to Syracuse University, studied journalism, had a career doing that, loved it, was always writing. And so I try every form of writing, and the stories I want to tell take different forms. I mean, some are poems, some are fiction, some are essays, some are visual art. You know, that's how I look at it. I have something to say from my unique perspective, and what's the best way to say it? You know, so that's how I think about it. And the job, I'm a mother. I have 2 children. I live in New York City, and I enjoy working at a college because I get energized by the young people. So it all fits together. Yeah.
Now, what would you say were in your formative training, in your formative years, what would you say influenced you the most in your creativity and your expression?
I would have to say probably my culture and my parents and our Jamaican, Caribbean ways of storytelling. And I think this is Black diaspora ways of storytelling. Just a certain way of storytelling that just ignites the imagination. And I wanted to sort of put my spin on that as a Jamaican.
A Jamaican?
A Jamaican, yeah. So
wow.
That's what inspired me. Yeah.
Well, actually just getting into that and your Jamaican background and your heritage, you are performing your poem called I Am the Caribbean tonight. And I really want to, after our viewers get to hear this, I really want to get into how your Caribbean upbringing, and specifically being Jamaican, contributed to this poem and what you're talking about here. So let's get into Keisha's poem, I Am the Caribbean.
In the belly of a ship named for supposed nobility, I came this way. From low-caste Bombay to Chinese-built railway, I came this way. From Irish town here, poor as the one back there, I came this way. I became that jigsaw piece floating on the archipelago, too enmeshed to go beyond the gravity of my being. I am the Caribbean, a sweltering pool of disjointed life, Each day remaking, reshaping itself into an electric rhythm, skipping from bata to tassa to nyabingi, weaving through me, making me that kumina sound, that pan melody, that flute in the hills, that shack that brings back that sound of conviction, of personhood fought for, the independent ardor that we bled to see. I came to be that diasporic medley calling me down to ride through this life, changing shape as I see fit. And though we may forget the names of spirit, we call them viscerally. To Trenchtown, Port-au-Prince, Port-au-Spain, concrete just the same. All repositories of potential energy and stilted memory. I am the Caribbean.
So I love that.
Thank you.
And I have to tell you, the first thing I was thinking about was, how long were you in Jamaica when you grew up before you came to the States? And what about your life there on the island has influenced you? What did you bring here to America?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I was 3 when I left, okay? So I didn't live there very long. However, we were constantly like summers with grandma. And so what did I bring from that? The story of our family, you know, the journeys that we make to make life work.
Right.
And how we maintain our identity, you know, as we're migrating all over, you know, Jamaicans are everywhere.
Yes.
And I guess, you know, part of the culture is just as a way of looking at the world. That poem is really speaking to the constellation of histories and cultures that make me and a lot of other Jamaicans. It's one of the first globalized places. When you talk about globalization, there are so many different people there. Obviously, it's predominantly African-descended people, but the thing that caused Jamaica to be, in terms of it being a former colony, brought all these different sorts of people together where they otherwise would not interact in that way. And so that creates weird fusion things.
Right, exactly.
So,
yes.
No, that's just...
While I was listening to you recite it, I was really thinking about the transatlantic slave trade and the bringing of people from one land to another and then scattering them, and what comes of that scattering. It's, I guess it kind of makes up the diaspora of Black people as a whole. I mean, we obviously come from the motherland, but when you've sprinkled us all around the world, and the storytelling, as you mentioned, is very specific.
You know, our esteemed griot and storyteller, Louise Bennett, she has a poem where she's talking about colonization in reverse. And I think this is, one of the lines is like, we blend them and we mix them till we flavor. Like we impact, you know, wherever the diaspora went, it imprinted and sort of mixed things up a little bit so that we speak our languages the same in various places, whether we are speaking a derivative of French or Spanish or English, we speak it in the same way.
Yes.
We have the same expressions, we have the same axioms because there has a common root. So that's how I see it. It's just putting a stamp, like, you know, it's changed forever.
Yeah.
Look at music. It's, you know.
Look at it. I mean, we could go so extensively into...
There's so many examples. So, you know, taking note of that and writing about it is just very interesting to me.
Now, your next poem is called Ancestors, or The Ancestors.
It's Ancestors.
Ancestors. And I want our viewers to have a moment to hear that, and then I'll ask a few questions. So this is Keisha's poem, Ancestors.
Well, you wanted to look into the dark, didn't you? So don't curse these eyes, we gave them to you, and sent you to straighten the bends in these steel tracks that link all of our names, rusted under salt water, buried beneath bundles of cane. Sing songs into candle flame for these bones of mine that now reach through you, stand you into 6 feet of woman. They have not forgotten how to brace against the lash or bend backward for the bembe. Each day we move with you, can't you hear? We are riding the rhythm that beats these words through your center. You beg us to enter, but we never left. We is you, is us all now together since forever. We laugh and lift your sight towards starshine, seashells, sleeping poetry in every alley and pissed-on corner. We tune your ears to the footfall of predators who stroke their loneliness to the bowline of your lips. You wanted to know, not believe. So see it all here now and build a ladder with these visions that lift us up, one by one, hand over hand, after birth to under dirt. We listen with you, roll slow up this mountain that needed us to tumble down, break ground, and move things. So look here. Kill your fear. Open these eyes. Pull us back together and march us home.
Beautiful. I mean,
Thank you.
obviously, I'm in love with your writing.
Thank you.
The first thing I wanted to ask you about this is, when speaking to the ancestors, what exactly are we asking them for?
It's more about listening. It's more about allowing yourself to understand, learn, and listen, and just go with the flow. Because in the beginning of the poem, it's really a commentary. In times of struggle, you're like, why is this happening to me? And then I imagine them saying, well, you wanted to have this experience, right?
Well,
you came to our family, you came through us. So, we're giving you our eyes. This is an accumulated experience of the family. We gave these eyes to you. So just, now you got to use them. Like, we all went through this. And now you're there. And so just to learn from that, learn about your people, and so you don't make the same mistakes.
Right. I've heard some performers say, allow the ancestors to come into the room. Do you have that sort of philosophy in your writing and your creating?
I do quite literally. I mean, just in terms of my own worldview and spiritual view and outlook and how I conceive of the world around me. I feel like they're very much really there. And you just have to allow your attention to be guided to whatever it is, and then you may get inspired. If you're still enough, you'll get a sign or something and say, oh, let me write about this. And you just never know. You just got to be open.
Yes.
Open but focused.
And able to receive.
And able to receive, and not judging things that may seem weird. Like if I get the sudden thought that I need to sit under that tree for a minute because I just feel like I need to sit under this tree, I don't talk myself out of it. I'm like, all right, let me sit here and just chill, and then things come to you,
Right.
That's what I mean. Don't push it away and say, I got to do this, I got to do that. You have to make time for those things, or it's not going to happen. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, I definitely want to get into our final poem for the night, which is called Walking the Circle. For our viewers, Walking the Circle.
How many times can you walk a circle? You are breathless in this flesh, blind and forgetful and partially deaf, pulled by the nose across the globe like cattle, aching from a boundless hunger, which is really only questions. Why I? Why now? Why pain? Why at all? And you are marching toward that carrot, straight into the mouths of cannibals that live in your peripheral vision, in the foreground, in the background, in the space between your eyes. They are a mist, coating you with a mask that you mistake for your reflection. So when you hear, a man was shot today, a man was lynched today, a street vendor was bulldozed today, a woman was raped today, a child, you say, but that's out there. But how many times can you walk a circle and not know that you are the corpse, the wrinkled street vendor, the strange fruit, the woman sawed in two, the child, the child, the child? How many times, how fast can you walk a circle before crashing into yourself?
Thank you again for that.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask you, you referred to this you in the poem, and I want to know, who exactly is the you? Who is the audience that this is for?
It's everybody, because everybody looks at things and they say, when they judge things that are negative, they're like, well, or where people are victimized, they say, well, that's them. And it's like, it could be you very, very easily. And it's such a basic fact that people don't ever think you could be in the same situation. So you don't have a reason to get involved or speak up. And we need more of that. Just put empathy, really. Compassion and empathy.
Right.
That's what it's about. That's what that poem is about. It's like, how many times can we ignore things until it comes right to your house?
Right. And going into 2018 and where we are as a nation.
Right. It's
I
very
think that's
lacking.
lacking and
Yeah.
a poignant topic of conversation that needs to be had.
Yes.
Wow. Well,
Yes, hopefully.
exactly. Hopefully we can continue and or begin these conversations with the greater you
Yes.
of people that it needs to be had with. Well, before we let you go for the evening, I would like for you to just tell our viewers, do you have any new works coming out, any new showcases we can look out for? Where can we see you?
Oh, I have a lot of exciting developments. I have 2 new books coming out. I have a book coming out in 2018 with Willow Books, Aquarius Press, and that's a traditional print book. And then in 2019, I have a multimedia ebook that was the Editor's Choice recipient of a competition with Agape Editions Publishers. So that multimedia ebook is going to contain my poetry, my original artwork, and original music that will be, I'm going to be working with a musician to do that. So I'm really excited about both of those projects. And I'm always reading, I'm always talking, I'm always teaching. I'm at Keisha-Gaye.Inc, I-N-K, like the ink and a pen. And just check me out. I am all over.
All over.
I'm all over, and I want to keep going and being active and just doing what I love.
That's amazing. Well, we can add musical composer now.
Yeah, well, I'm working with a musician.
You're working with, yes, but
but
wow.
I just thought it has to be engage all the senses.
Yes.
That's the idea of that project. There's visual art, the poems will be audio poems too, you know, and with musical accompaniment. So we're gonna have fun and just see what happens.
That's amazing.
Yeah, why not?
Now, where can our viewers follow you on social media?
Okay, I'm all over social media.
Yes, come on.
I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, and generally it's my name. It's at Keisha-Gaye or at Keisha-Gaye Anderson. So you can find me on all those places.
All right. Well, I did want to ask before we let you go this evening, do you have any advice for our young viewers out there, any aspiring writers and performing artists?
Oh, you gotta believe in yourself. Even if you're just writing in a journal, just do it. You can show it later. You know, you have to believe that what you have to say, that your experiences are valid, your pain is relevant, and what you have to say is worthy and necessary and could save someone's life. Imagine if James Baldwin did not write those books. Like, where would we be? I'm serious. It's like, you could save someone's life. They have to believe that everybody's important. And if you have something to say, you can privately say it, and then when you get up the courage, send your work out.
Wow.
It's necessary.
Well, thank you, Keisha, so much for joining us tonight and returning back to the Artists Forum.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yay,
Lots of fun.
I'm so happy. The Artists Forum.
Get connected.
Be heard.
The Artist Forum is a place where artists of all disciplines can network, collaborate, and showcase their work.
On the Artists Forum's AFTV, you'll see interviews with New York's emerging talents in theater, dance, music, visual arts, written word, as well as insights from industry insiders.
Watch us on MNN every other Thursday at 7:30 p.m. I'm Lisa Nicole Wilkerson.
And I'm Rebecca L. Hargrove.
We'll see you on the Artist Forum.
Hi, welcome back to the Artists Forum. I'm your host, Rebecca L. Hargrove, and joining me for this half of the program is poet, author, and lawyer, J.P. Howard. Welcome to the Artists Forum, J.P.
Thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us. So I just wanted to let our viewers in on your extensive background. She is a 2017 Split This Rock Freedom Plow Award for Poetry and Activism finalist, a featured poet in the 2017 Lesbian Poet Trading Cards series, which is from Headmistress Press, and a 2016 Lambda Literary finalist for her work Say Mirror, which we will hear a piece from later this evening. And she will be a 2018 featured author in the Lambda Literary Writers in Schools program. Ooh. In addition to all of her accolades, she curates and nurtures the Women Writers in Bloom Poetry Salon and has published her works Bury Your Love Poems Here and Say Mirror. In addition to that, her poetries and essays have been published in the Academy of American Poets, Apogee Journal, did I say that correctly?
You did.
Apogee Journal, and the Feminist Wire, just to name a few. So, How did we get here? You're just so accomplished on top of being a lawyer. Give me a little bit of your background.
Well, I've always been a writer, but I haven't pursued it as passionately as I wanted to until I would say maybe in the last 9 years or so. I decided to go and get my MFA in creative writing from City College after having been a lawyer for many years and having started my family, but it's something I really wanted to do, like a true passion. And it was really one of the best decisions that I could make. Doing that really sort of jump-started my passion for poetry and my commitment to writing.
Wow. Wow, and you mentioned City College, which we previously saw you last season on our 77th episode, where we featured the interactive poetry workshop. I'm sure some of our viewers may remember that, but we were featuring the students. And now tonight we will actually be able to hear your own works. So before we get into your poetry, can I just hear about your influences?
I grew up in Sugar Hill, Harlem, so I would say a lot of my influences came from growing up there. My mom always told me about various writers in Harlem, such as Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, and I grew up going to the Hamilton Grange Library on 145th Street, which is still there, and that's when I really discovered the world of poetry. So I discovered Nikki Giovanni, Margaret Walker, and some of the other poets that I mentioned before, started reading their poems, and just really fell in love with poetry at a pretty young age. I think I was probably in maybe 5th or 6th grade, and I would just sort of immerse myself in those poems.
Wow. Well, speaking of your poems, let's get into the first poem, which is titled, What to Say to a Friend Who Wants to Give Up.
I'm going to be reading a poem from my book, Say Mirror. What to say to a friend who wants to give up. Say, I love you, even when you can't love yourself. Say, please, please, not today. Say, too much life unlived. Say, mirror. Say, beautiful. Say, this arm, take this arm. Say, grab. Say, hold. Say, let tears fall. Say, tears heal. Say, forgive your mama. Say, she did the best she could. Say, tomorrow. Say, sleep. Say, split second, split the seconds. Say, let the seconds turn into days. Say, today. Say, tomorrow. Say, sun. Say, warm. Say, skin. Say, warm skin. Say, sunlight. Say, new day. Say, breathe. Say, inhale. Say, exhale. Say, not today, baby girl. Say, too much life to live. Say, love. Say, I love you. Say, hold on to love.
So that Harlem influence. I also, and correct me if I may be wrong, but I also felt just like this rhythm of rap in a way. That was my impression. I got that there was a rap, and I guess that's that.
Interesting.
The activism end of your work as well.
It may be that, absolutely.
Yeah.
I definitely consider myself an activist, a political activist. And I think that there's a lot of activism that can happen through poetry. I'm part of Black Poets Speak Out, which is a way of using poetry to speak out about what's happening in the community to particularly people of color. And so that might come out sometimes in my work, absolutely.
Yeah, there was some flavor there. Yes. So then this friend, is the friend a metaphor for someone else, or is it in turn speaking to yourself when you may want to give up?
It's actually a little bit of both. I mean, actually when I wrote that poem, it was written for a very close friend of mine who was really going through a hard time and was feeling suicidal. But reading that poem and sharing it around the country with folks, I've gotten so much positive feedback that so many people say they either see themselves in that poem or they see their child self, how we've survived and how we can, really go on, or they can relate to a friend or family member going through it. So I think that poetry can be healing, can be incredibly cathartic, and I think that was sort of my goal. And I feel like when I hear the response from people, that's true.
Wow, wow. Speaking to where we are socially in this current climate, I think mental health is being taken into consideration with a lot of people in the nation and elevating those types of issues. So, do you feel that your writing has somehow illuminated that?
I certainly hope so. I mean, I think it's important to bring attention to so many issues, and certainly mental health is one of them, and it's something that I definitely do, write about. in my poetry, also working on a memoir, and it also comes out there as well. So I think it's important to be able to kind of be open and talk about what their struggles are, and it helps folks to, be able to move forward and have that open dialogue, not a secret.
Right. Wow. Well, in your next piece, which I would like to get into for our viewers, which is entitled We Beautiful Black Boys. Let's hear We Beautiful Black Boys.
We beautiful black boys, we got so much poise. We look like grown men. We keep coming to an early end. We got mamas who keep mourning. We just want to see a new morning. We smart and get good grades. We keep getting so much shade. We rise early and study hard. We still got cops asking for ID cards. We wear hoodies and travel with friends. We tired of being seen through same old lens. We want history to stop rewinding and repeating. We don't want to be a part of senseless beatings. We need our brilliance to be widespread. We got no choice but to move ahead.
Was this written for where we are currently in the world of Black Lives Matter, or does this predate that?
It was written during this time. It's certainly a very current poem, but I think it's something that sort of predates that. I feel like this poem could have been written in the 1940s, 1950s, or now in 2018. It could have been written in any of those times. But it's something that's relevant. I'm the mom of, two African-American sons, and so I'm thinking not about them, but so many of our youth when I wrote that poem about We Beautiful Black Boys, because I want to celebrate them, but I also want to acknowledge all of the challenges and struggles that they continue to go through.
And do you find that in your writing you have space to be a voice for, I would say in particular young Black men that maybe feel like they don't have a voice right now?
I think I lend my voice to a community that's already out there, that already exists, and helps to, basically celebrate our voices, to acknowledge that we exist. But I'm part of a community that I would say, it exists already, and hopefully I hope to enlighten, as do the other poets and poems that exist.
Awesome, awesome. And our final poem for the night is Praise Poets and Their Pens. So let's take a listen to that.
Praise poets and their pens, dedicated to my 30-30 crew. Praise daily poems in my inbox, how they make me laugh in one stanza, then break my heart the next. Praise how poets hold on to our first loves and scent of mama, now gone. Praise how we nurture our child self, gently wrap her around stanzas. Baby girl is resilient. Praise our spunk and our sadness. Let our writing heal. At home, at work, in cafes, even in the ICU. Praise how we hold our memories up to light, gentle and cupped in palm of hands. Praise our rough and sexy poems. Sometimes that's all we need, fire in the sheets. Praise bebop and jazz, how my foot taps when I speak your poems out loud. Praise power of music and mama, who played Nancy Wilson all night long, crying behind a closed door. Praise how I wrote a new poem this week while my sick child laid on my lap, because everyone needs to heal, especially mamas.
Who is the 30-30 crew?
The 30-30 crew, that's a great question. There's something called National Poetry Month, which happens in April, and many poets do something called, part of the National Poetry Month is a writing where we write for 30 days, a poem a day, and we exchange it, in my group, we exchange it online. This goes around, really around the country, probably maybe around the world, but certainly around the country. And something I've been doing maybe for the past, I would say at least 6 or 7 years with a crew that I write with. So it's dedicated to those poems and those poets.
Wow, so have you personally met everyone that you communicate and share poems with?
I have, but initially I didn't. For the first year, there was about maybe half the group that I hadn't met, because we had really been organized by another poet friend. And so that we were writing each other, exchanging these fantastic poems each day. And then we finally got together at the end of the 30 days, at the end of April, to be able to meet and potluck and kind of meet these wonderful poets.
I think that's amazing how art can really just bring collectives and communities that otherwise may not have been brought together, bringing them together. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. So thank you so much for sharing your work with us tonight. It's truly a pleasure to have you. And I'd love to know, what are you looking forward to in the coming year?
I'm very excited. I've been invited to be part of the Lambda Literary LGBT Writers in Schools program here in New York. And that's going to be a wonderful opportunity. From what I know, it's my first time doing it, to bring my book, Say Mirror, and my poetry into schools, to talk to youth, be able to talk about what it is to be a Black queer writer, and be able to talk about my experiences, and just really to sort of be a role model to say, yes, we can be out here, we can share our voices, we can have our poetry, our books published, and we exist. And also just to let the children be able to talk to us, ask us questions, find out what's going on in our lives. So I imagine it'll be a learning experience for me as well.
Right. And is there a particular school that you'll be based in? Or
they'll let me know. There are various schools that where an instructor may, choose your work, and then you'll go into that school and speak to the students.
Wow.
So I'm super excited about doing that.
That's very exciting. So it sounds like you're going to be spending 2018 uplifting and helping new up-and-coming young writers. Do you have any advice for any of our viewers that may be writers, poets, authors, lawyers?
Absolutely, I would say just to continue to stick with it. If it's your passion, don't let anyone discourage you. Sometimes people get discouraged because maybe they haven't gotten something published or they haven't gotten into a residency, but continue with it. Continue with it if it's your passion, and ultimately it will happen, And make sure also, I would say, you find supportive groups, supportive writing communities. For me, that's been a big part of founding the Women Writers in Bloom Poetry Salon. So I did that because I wanted to create that community. So I definitely would say, find a community of writers and stick with them.
Wonderful. Well, where can our viewers find more of your work? Where can they stay in touch with you?
I have a website. It's jphoward.com. It's jp-howard.com, and then people can find me there. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram at jphowardpoet. It's jphoward_poet, and folks can find me there. And active on Facebook, I have an author page, JP Howard.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, JP, thank you so much for joining us again this season and returning and blessing us with your works.
Thank you.
And thank you to our viewers for watching and tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the wonderful poetry that was shared this evening. And stay tuned for the next episode of the Artist Forum. I'm your host, Rebecca L. Hargrove, and this was JP Howard.